Right now, 65% of American households cannot afford to buy a median-priced home. Let me say that again. Almost 2 out of every 3 families in this country are priced out of homeownership in 2026. Home prices have risen 53% since 2019. Median household income has only risen 24% in that same time. And mortgage rates are sitting above 6%, with no sign of dropping to anything close to what we saw a few years ago. And the thing that frustrates me is that every time somebody brings up the housing market, the conversation immediately goes to one question. Is there going to be a crash? And every expert lines up to say no, there won't be a 2008-style crash. And technically they're right, but here's what nobody is talking about. You don't need a crash for the housing market to destroy your financial future. What is happening right now is arguably worse than a crash for the average person trying to build wealth. Because, at least in a crash, prices come down, and you can buy at the bottom. What we have right now is something different. We have prices that are frozen at record highs, mortgage rates that make monthly payments brutal, and an entire generation that is being quietly locked out of the single greatest wealth-building tool in American history. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what is happening in the housing market right now, why the real crisis is the one nobody is talking about, and most importantly, what you should actually do about it, whether you're trying to buy your first home or you're trying to figure out where to put your money instead. But before we get into it, drop a like on this video if you think housing is out of control right now. And comment your city and what housing prices look like where you live. I want to see how different it is across the country. So let's start with what's actually happening in the market right now, because the numbers tell a very specific story that most people are not paying attention to. The median home sale price in the United States right now is around $410,000 to $415,000, and the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is hovering around 6.2 to 6.5%. Now let me put that into real numbers that actually mean something. If you were to buy a $410,000 home today with a 20% down payment, which is $82,000 by the way, your mortgage would be about $328,000. At a 6.3% interest rate on a 30-year fixed loan, your monthly payment would be roughly $2,030 just for principal and interest. Add in property taxes, homeowners insurance, and potentially PMI if you put less than 20% down, and you're looking at somewhere between $2,400 and $2,800 a month, depending on where you live. The median household income in the US is about $104,000. After taxes, that's roughly $6,500 to $7,000 a month. Take home for a typical household. So you're looking at spending 35 to 40% of your take-home pay on housing alone. And that's for a household with 2 incomes. If you're a single person making the median individual salary of around $60,000 to $65,000, the math gets even worse. You're spending over half your take-home pay on a mortgage. That is not sustainable. And that is exactly why the share of first-time homebuyers in the market has dropped to just 21%. Back in 1981, that number was 44%. The median age of a first-time buyer has hit a record high of 40 years old. Think about that. 40 years old. That used to be 29. Now the big question everyone asks is, well, are prices going to come down? And the honest answer based on everything I've researched is probably not. At least not significantly. And here is why. The main thing that drives home prices is supply and demand. And right now, we have a massive supply problem in the United States. There is a shortage of approximately 4 million homes nationwide. We have simply not built enough housing for the past 15 years. After the 2008 crash, builders pulled way back on construction, and we never recovered. We've been underbuilding relative to population growth and household formation for over a decade. And that shortage is the primary reason prices are staying elevated, even though demand has slowed down. On top of that, you have something called the lock-in effect. And this is a huge factor that people underestimate. During 2020 and 2021, millions of homeowners locked in mortgage rates at 2.5 to 3.5%. Those people are not selling their homes. Why would they? If you have a 3% mortgage rate and the current rate is 6.3%, selling your house and buying a new one would essentially double your monthly payment even if you bought the exact same house at the exact same price. So, these homeowners are sitting tight. They're not listing their homes. And that means the supply of existing homes on the market stays artificially low, which keeps prices propped up, even though fewer people can afford to buy. It's a trap. Prices can't come down because there's not enough supply. But the reason there's not enough supply is partly because prices and rates are too high for current homeowners to want to move. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. Now, here is where I want to challenge the narrative you're hearing from the mainstream. Every major forecaster right now is saying the same thing. JP Morgan is projecting 0% home price growth in 2026. Zillow is projecting about 1.2% growth. The National Association of Realtors is projecting 4% growth. And almost universally, they're saying there will not be a crash. Mortgage delinquency rates are low. Homeowners have record equity. Lending standards are way tighter than 2008. There are no subprime loans blowing up. There is $35 trillion in homeowner equity sitting in the market. And I agree with all of that. A 2008-style crash where prices fall 25% is extremely unlikely. But here is what those same experts are quietly admitting when you read past the headlines. Redfin is calling 2026 a great housing reset. Not a crash, not a recovery, a reset. They're saying this is going to be a years-long period of stagnation, where incomes slowly catch up to prices. The price-to-income ratio peaked above 5 times in 2022, and right now, it's around 4.9 times. Historically, a balanced affordable market is around 4 times income, and experts are projecting that, even with flat prices and rising wages, it could take several more years to get back to anything close to normal affordability. Several more years. We're already 3 years into this. And the Compass Intelligence Housing Market Outlook is projecting that getting back to 2019 affordability levels would require either median household incomes to rise 56% to about $132,000, or home prices to fall significantly. Neither of those is happening anytime soon. So, what does this actually mean for you? It means we're in a slow-motion affordability crisis, not a crash, something worse. A crash is violent, but it's quick. Prices drop, you buy the dip, and you rebuild. What we have now is a grind. Prices just sit there at levels most people can't afford while life keeps getting more expensive and your savings don't grow fast enough to keep up. And this hits young people the hardest. More than half of adults age 18 to 24 are now living with their parents. People are delaying marriage, delaying having kids, and delaying major life milestones because they can't afford housing. And the wealth gap between homeowners and renters keeps getting wider every single year because homeowners are building equity while renters are building nothing. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this because I think you deserve to understand the reality of the situation, so you can make smart financial decisions based on facts, not based on hope or fear. So, let me talk about what you should actually do. Option 1. If you're in a financial position to buy a home, the question is not whether prices are going to crash. They're not. The question is whether you can afford the monthly payment comfortably without stretching yourself too thin. And that means your total housing costs, mortgage, taxes, insurance, everything, should be no more than 28 to 30% of your gross income. If you can hit that number, buying a home is still one of the best financial decisions you can make. You're locking in your housing cost for 30 years, while rents keep going up around you. You're building equity every single month. And if rates do come down in the future, you can refinance and lower your payment. The saying right now is, marry the house, date the rate, meaning buy the house if it's right for you and refinance the rate when conditions improve. And right now, builders are offering incentives. They're doing rate buy-downs where they pay a lump sum upfront to get you a lower rate for the first few years. Nearly 2/3 of homebuyers in 2025 receive some kind of discount off the list price. So there is negotiating room out there, especially in Sunbelt markets and areas with a lot of new construction. But here is the thing that most housing content won't tell you. If you cannot comfortably afford to buy right now, that is okay. And there are still powerful ways to build wealth without owning a home. And that brings me to option 2, which is what to do if buying is not realistic for you right now. The biggest myth in personal finance is that you have to own a home to build wealth. That is simply not true. Yes, home ownership has historically been